you ready? Are you ready?
Welcome to the MetaSports League studios and the DigiFan Podcast, our very first podcast here. We got Waggs, we've got Juju, JC, and Peanut. Guys, welcome and take it away. Looks like our TV's not working then.
Doc, thanks for the intro. That's Doc. Are you on the screen right now? Can you get a shot of yourself?
There we go.
There's really, he's the straw that stirs the drink, and the way this makes it happen. I mean, I don't know why we're here as a group collectively. Peanut, this is the first time I've met you. I'm stoked about it.
Yeah.
The most easygoing, laid-back guy, and you got a following that goes for days. Are you live right now on Spaces?
No.
Okay, you don't want to ruin your following. Got it. Something called Juju is across from me here, also known as Jules or Julian, but we're going Juju. And then, of course, this is my good friend JC right here. I've never, ever called you that. It sounds like Jay-Z, but that's okay.
Absolutely. We got a lot in common.
We sure do. I'm Pete Wagner. Everybody calls me Waggs. So here we go. Guys, great to be here. Looking forward to really, this is our very first show. And we don't know where this is going to evolve to, or what it could look totally different from what this started from today. So this is more of a, hey, we're out here. This is what we're doing. We have some topics we're going to get into. A couple of NHL milestones that have occurred here over the past couple of days that I think are worth talking about. We'll get into that. We'll talk a little bit about the big Tyson-Paul fight coming up. Mm-hmm. Or exhibition, whatever we want to call that. There's a lot of takes to have on that. We are also going to maybe delve into the Timberwolves sale. Peanut's eyes got. Do you want to go there?
Yeah, I'm ready to dive into that.
Okay, eyes got big there. I have some intel, so I'll be curious to see if it matches up with what you may have, and then I know you've got some things there too. But first, before we start, I think it's important for us all to get to know each other, because Peanut, this is the first time I met you.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna start.
I was told this was four guys having beer.
or one of these things.
And we could arrange that.
I'm good.
And you asked if I was on the juice.
We could arrange
before we
that,
started.
JC.
And I don't know exactly what that meant.
We only got one half of the equation. I think we got the wrong end of it. We're missing the drinks.
We are missing the drinks. Are those legal here, Doc?
Yeah.
Of course.
We'll have to get a sponsor. We'll get a drink sponsor.
Well, that's on you.
Yeah.
We'll work.
Okay, so he's really the business side with Doc, and you're going to be kind of the fill-in artist here.
Correct.
So I got a would you rather question so people can get to know you a little bit. Would you rather one of these three, you get one, and you cannot, so it's perpetual. So would you rather be perpetually wet, cold, or tired?
I'm going to go with wet.
Ooh, why?
Because I think hot tub. I think lake in the summer. I don't think cold and chilly wet. I think warm and
Okay,
wet.
so that's your version.
Yeah.
Peanut, what about you?
Man, I would say perpetually cold. I mean, I think it's just been it's a part of life here in Minnesota, so I'm already used to it.
Really good answer.
Yeah, I mean, I spent a lot of time actually in my undergrad studies down in Winona State, so same frigid cold weather right off the river. So I'm kind of used to it at this point being cold. So yeah, I think I'd defer to being cold.
How do you sleep?
Oh man, I mean, that's varied over the years. I mean, I always have a fan on. Usually minimal.
So you run hot.
Yeah, I mean
Perpetually, hot. Would you say it's fair?
Yeah, typically.
And so
yeah.
you're okay. You're really okay with the cold. You're okay with even winter here.
I'm okay with it. Sometimes it needs a little bit of a cool off or a little bit of opposition there. Yeah.
Gotcha. How about you, Juge?
I would have to agree with Peanut. I'm going to go cold. Again, from Minnesota. And see, I run hot, and when I sleep, I cannot be hot. If I'm sweaty, last night I was too hot in my apartment. I woke up in the middle of the night because it was too fucking hot and I was sweaty.
That's called menopause.
Menopause?
Yeah, you're in it.
What's menopause?
Don't worry about it.
Uh-oh.
You would know.
A conversation for a different day.
Is that okay? Mine would be tired because I already am tired perpetually.
Yeah, you're always
when you have the snoring issues I have, I can shake down. I can stop a charging rhino at 50 paces. I'm always tired because I'm going a mile a minute, right? Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, totally. But I think
so. I'd say tired because I work tired.
Yeah.
I don't really snore that much.
No.
So you just really hurt me. You wounded me very hard there. Thank you. Wow.
I didn't say
Wow,
blind.
he went straight to
Pete,
I know we're going to take shots and give each other shit.
I did not say blind. I did not
I
say
know,
blind.
I know, but I know we're going to be throwing darts around this table. But fuck, I mean, you took it like right away, boom, like ouch.
I'm just thinking loud.
Holy shit. Okay, so thank you for that. Thank you. Oh man. Okay, tell me about your sports
we're already
background,
at odds.
Juju. Well, that's a given.
My sports background.
Nice work.
It's pretty lame. So I'm only 24 years old. I didn't even really realize I wanted to go into sports until I was like 21 because a guy from my school works for MN United and he had like negative things to say about it. And
Did they give you the memo that you make no money in sports? Did you get that?
He mentioned that.
Okay.
And then I was like, okay, that kind of fucking sucks, right? Because, money's great. You want to buy nice things. And then having a girlfriend, they're expensive, as you probably know. And then
I do.
yeah, you probably do know that.
I'm paying for the nails today.
Another
Gotta pay for
shot.
the nails.
Another shot at the juggler.
I know. It's just
See,
as you would know.
I don't pay
And the
for-
bank account.
I've got a lovely. Let's just leave it at that. She's an amazing person.
Yeah.
Okay, so just
That's all that
you guys
matters.
take all the shots you want. She's amazing. Go ahead.
That's all that matters. So money's an issue, but I originally wanted to go into human resources because I like working with people. And then I realized, I was like, you know what? Life's too fucking short. Let's give this a shot. And then, a funny story, you don't know this. So I originally applied for the Neighborhood Sports Network. And before I...
Who are
came in
they?
contact-
Don't say. Go ahead. That was me taking a shot at the competition.
That's
Go
a
ahead.
good shot. Yeah. Who are they? And then I was like, well, let me get into contact with, good old Matt Harrington. And he set me up with you.
Known as Matty Ice.
Matty Ice, as you can call him. And I got set up with you, and we met. He told me that your first impression of me was I looked like Paul Blart,
You do.
which,
Well, let's come
that's-
clean though.
what's ridiculous. I can't grow a full mustache like Paul Blart. This is the best it gets.
Well,
You haven't been able
Okay,
to
but
get
you
some like
guys,
this?
in full disclosure, he had gone as like Elvis or something for Halloween,
Yeah.
and he had these just horrific looking choppers going. It was just a bad bit.
I had the
and I'm like,
chops.
and they came down to here, and it was just like, I'm like, literally, I look at this guy, and we met at the St. Louis Park Rec Center.
Yep.
I'm getting him his gear. We'll get into what I do here in a second, but it's live streaming, production, announcing stuff. And my literal thought, you okay with this?
Yeah, go
you
for
big
it.
boy?
Yeah.
Who the fuck is this? Like, what is this? What is going on here? I'm like looking at I'm like, okay, he actually thinks that's cool.
Oh, I don't.
So,
I think it's
I
ridiculous.
call the Iceman and I go, yeah, I really like Julian, but like, what the hell is going on? He goes, ooh. He went for that as Halloween. I go, he looks like Paul Blart. So you look like Paul Blart.
Yeah. See, we get
Yeah,
compared.
dude, look into the camera. Take the glasses off. Take them off. Look right into the camera. Tell me that's my God, is that not the mall cop?
Oh my
I'd
gosh.
rather be Kevin James, Doug from The King of Queens. You guys know that show?
Oh yeah.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I can see that.
I would say more closer to Doug.
I would say so.
Doug
You
Heffernan.
know what though? I think every person in life, in one way or the other, is more close to Dougie Heffernan than one would believe.
Yeah.
So you've been covering sports. You got a podcast too that you do.
Yeah, so I do a podcast. It's called the Inside Scoop Podcast. I just started it up in August. I started a lot. I like to focus a lot more on college and high school sports. So I'll talk about college football. We're going to get into college basketball a little bit. I do a lot of interviews and have conversations with players, Division I football players. Now that hockey's starting, I've had some high school players all around the state of Minnesota come on. I've had Coach John Pohl out of former Mr. Hockey head coach for Hill Murray's on, and it's been really fun. I've liked it, and I also do plenty of announcing for you as well.
Good energy. He's a good energy guy. Does a nice call.
Yeah, I try my best.
Yeah, he does a good job.
I try to improve
I'm pleased.
little bit by little every year, and I'm looking to take a big step up from last year compared to this year.
There are a ton of people out there that are broadcast wannabes. Like, I don't know if these are these youth guys that go with their, have you seen these youth sports where they show up with their iPhones and all sorts of weird headset contraptions,
Yep.
wannabe announcers? What I would say is the one thing you do is listen to yourself over and over again and make sure you're not repeating yourself
Yeah.
and sounding awfully predictable, but you're good. Peanut, now you've got like such a deep resume here that we're going to have to end the show when you're done because no, it's good though. Like you've got stuff. So let's go. What do you got? What's your sports journey?
Yeah, sports journey. Played baseball my whole life. Started at 4. Grew up in Mountain Wisconka.
What position?
I kind of bounced around between a number of different spots. I would say towards the later part of my playing career, did a lot of pitching, a lot of first base, a little bit of right field. If I had to pick, it would have been catcher all the time, but ran into some knee issues growing up, kind of in my early teens, and that kind of prohibited me from, being behind the plate and, being involved in, like I said, the big thing for me was I was involved in every single play, being the catcher.
That's why I caught.
Yeah, and I loved it. Like I said, I kind of just jumped right into it at a young age, and then I was always wanting to, practice, work on my craft, and played all the way through middle school, played in high school, didn't do anything at the college level, but I've always had an appreciation for sports, even beyond baseball too. I played a little bit of basketball, did a little bit of wrestling, did a little bit of soccer, did a number of different sports, but really baseball was the thing that stuck with me. And then I did a little bit of trap shooting too. I know trap shooting kind of came onto the scene in Minnesota, over the last maybe 10 years or so. And so that was kind of a big thing for me the last couple of years of high school. But I've just come to love sports across the board: basketball, football, baseball. Like I said, all the major sports. I follow a little bit of, tennis too, with some of the young talent that's really coming up in the U.S. With Watson and golf too, and then obviously seeing what's going on in golf with the Live Tour, PGA Tour, some of the controversy. Some of the different shows, documentaries that they've had on Netflix.
Do you think, by the way, versatile is the word I would use for your background here. It's great. Do you think, I don't think a guy like Rory McIlroy would say something if he didn't know something. He's just kind of that guy.
Yeah, very calculated.
But do you think that now that Trump is president-elect, and I said this is a political free zone. Do you think that a deal will get done between the Live Saudis and the PGA? It sure sounds that way. What does that look like? That's a whole different.
Yeah, podcast. It very well could be. You have key representatives that have really planted their flag in the rich history of the PGA Tour and sticking to their guns of the legacy that they built. Obviously, Tiger's been someone that I've followed for a lot of my life growing up.
How could you not?
And I get, there's a lot of controversy around him, but I think there's got to be an admiration and respect for what he's done on the links, on the golf course. And he's going to go down as one of the greatest of all time. So, it's been fun again to see kind of how things have played out between the two different leagues. And, really at the end of the day, I think it's fun to see people who really have a conviction and passion for what they're doing and what they're playing for. And like I said, the way that the PGA Tour has evolved and grown has been pretty remarkable. So to stick to their guns and still have that rich history, with the Masters and some of the different majors that they have over the course of a year, that's when I really get to, rally around golf, and especially with the Ryder Cup too, seeing the U.S. go against the rest of the world and, kind of seeing that pride
just
in
no
history.
More dumps in Europe, please. Like, could you take a bigger dump and just leave it there? It's so bad. Right? We're great here on the soil, but it's just like you go over there and it's like complete deer in headlights. It's unbelievable. But what the thing that's really stood out to me is that the PGA, while the TV numbers maybe slipped a little bit,
sure,
they've been really strong, even in lieu of the Live going, and they've buried them in viewership. And at some point, I don't care if you're a billionaire, is it quadrillionaire? Is that the next one after that? Whatever it is, or trillionaire.
Trillionaire.
Yeah, then, kind of like a menopause. One of those things. You say you get tired of losing money because the only reason you have money is because you're smart with it. And I think a lot of people would think when you get into the Timberwolves discussion that I bet you they would lose between $150 and $250 million a year when nobody was going to the Target Center. You add that up over a decade, we're talking $1 billion. You do over 2 decades, that's $2 billion. I don't care how many billions you have as an owner. That's a lot of money to lose. And we're going to get into that a little bit later, but you know what I'm talking about. So.
There's a lot to tackle there. I think one thing real quick, I think it was the Dana Moore podcast, local writer for the Timberwolves. They do some pretty good content on YouTube. I know that they had actually had an interview with A-Rod and Mark Lowry. I think it was both of them. And, I know that podcast absolutely, blew up for them. Again, just shedding light. I know you said we'll dive into a little bit, but just kind of the behind the scenes conversation, some of the different things that actually went on versus, again, what gets circulated in the news and what people are talking about in the media.
And I have some good intel to counter that, which is going to be really good, I think. Quickly, your social, you do a lot of work, you do a lot of production, you do stuff. So what do you do? I want to know.
Yeah. So I right now I actually got let go from an occupational role that I had a couple of months ago, and now I'm actually full time in crypto. So yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I know it's
You
kind of.
got to educate me. I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot to dive in there. I know people are like, how do you do crypto full time? But it's all about, finding different brands, different companies that are tied to, attached and involved in the crypto space where, again, like any, major corporation, you need to have marketing and you need to have, business relationship or BD and, having CEOs, just again, like any, Fortune 500 company, you have your different head departments and, you have people that really, focus on their specific skill set and their overall task. So
we'll have to go off on a tangent on some show because it's an area maybe at my advanced age where I've sort of antichristed that.
Sure.
Because I didn't understand it and I still don't. And I've never really had it fully explained.
Sure.
So I'm not unreasonable. I'd like to think I'm a little forward thinking that way. So I'd love to hear what you have to say. So good stuff. What's your Twitter handle?
Yeah, my Twitter handle is at JiffyPB, JIFFYPB _ all one word, no spaces. Yeah, it'll be pretty easy to find me.
Okay, I'd say maybe they should get a pen for
You
that.
you can just type in peanut too.
Juju,
Usually it'll come up.
What's your X handle?
My X handle,
Do you have one?
yeah, I do. JLock 2023.
LOCH?
LOCK.
Okay.
J-Lock.
How about this guy over here, JC? Now, you've got a long storied career in media and more on the business side, correct?
Correct. Although as a kid, I played all sports, and I would add to my enthusiasm for that. Growing up was really crazy about trading cards.
Mm-hmm.
I had more than
That's a
anybody.
rabbit hole right there. We'll have to dive down.
I had more than anybody, and I intended to keeping them all my whole life, and I still do have many of them today, which are sometimes fun to.
I don't mean to interrupt. What's your favorite trading card, like priceless in your mind, that you have?
I mean, I've got a lot of rookie cards. I got Kirby's rookie card, which they don't. I go to these shows. Nothing's really worth that much.
Yeah.
And obviously you have to have a buyer first and foremost. But I'm not really in it to sell.
Oh,
I just like to possess them.
You know what my most valuable card is? It's the family legacy Bobby Bell.
Yeah.
Gus Bell. Sorry, Gus
My
Bell.
favorites are the
He didn't get it. He blew it off.
my favorites are the 78, 79 complete set of like
Right.
Vikings.
Yep.
Oh,
When every single card was like Alan Page, Fran Tarkington,
Yep.
Carl Eller, Ahmad Rashad.
Would you say you're like a Minnesota-driven fan?
No, but that cards taught me
But I mean,
about
would you say-
every player, every team. My parents used to say, well, how can you get C's in school and know and have all these cards memorized on the back?
Would you watch the Steelers and Titans in a game?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, a lot of it to me depends who the quarterback is.
Yep.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That's how I pick my games.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not watching it to watch who the linebacker core is or anything like that.
Really? You're not that deep, huh?
No, because without the quarterback, the receivers aren't special.
I watched the offensive line.
Yeah, I love great running
The
backs.
trenches.
I love the pick six, the best play in football.
I just like competition.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think real quick, and I know we'll probably go down a rabbit hole there too. I think that's why I've actually come to enjoy college football so much too. There's just a different type of competitiveness that shows up on Saturdays. Where really it almost feels like college basketball too, where you have March Madness and anybody can show up and win. And I mean that's been a prime example this season with some crazy upsets. You have 14 beating 3 and you have an unranked team beating somebody that's in the teens. That's what makes college football as great as it is, because they still have something to prove, to lock up that contract and make it big on the gridiron on Sundays.
Well, they're playing for something,
Exactly.
right?
But Wags, as far as you said, the media, that because of my passion for sports, I in college became sports radio. You and I first crossed paths at the U of M. I was with WMMR. You were kind of on your own, independent, doing your same stuff you
Well,
did in high school.
let's not revise history. You were a year older than me.
Correct.
Okay. And there was a pecking order at the University of Minnesota to get into WMMR. And I would assume even you, as a sophomore when I was a freshman, you were moving up the ladder while the Matsons of the world were basically owning all the programming. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
And in a way,
there were some ball hogs there at
a
WMR.
lot of ball hogs.
Yeah.
I love it. So in a way, there's a lot of ball hogs in this market. When you think about the dinosaurs that are on the legacy media that we hear, I mean, it's like, but you know what? I'm not saying they should be leaving their seats. It's wonderful. I mean, good for them. But I mean, at some level, I'm impatient, and I got the hell out of there. And a true story. Can I share the story?
Go ahead.
I went to Randy Strobel. He reminded me of the teacher from Beavis and Butthead. Well, class, we're going to learn about the wonderful world of haiku. Remember that guy with the stringy hair? It was the same dude, wore the AC/DC t-shirt. You know, like
Tell the short version, Waggs.
That's just. I'm a long former. You're gonna have to fucking deal with this.
Time's ticking.
No, you're gonna have to fucking deal with it.
Long story longer.
Well, now you just derailed it. You made it worse.
No, I'm going to make it better.
No, you just made it worse. Okay. Anyway, so you said go to Brown because it's gonna be better. So I went there and it was better.
Oh, that's true.
For broadcast.
Yeah.
And he's not supposed to tell you that because he's supposed to keep you in at the University
because
of
this
Minnesota.
is my story, I think.
Right.
Anyway, so from WMR,
It is.
Yeah, we went to. It was a great time. We had no listeners, but it was a great way to learn the business for sure. I remember being in there and saying third caller gets tickets to the hockey game this weekend. No calls, 0 calls.
Seriously.
Yeah, only the cafeteria could.
Now this was closed circuited only to the student area.
Yeah.
Or to the general campus.
Yeah. So, anyways, that led to Kerry Levin, where I worked for a couple of years, thinking that I wanted to pursue this business, but ultimately, I just became media savvy and got involved in the kind of consumer products.
Were you
business.
thinking on air at first?
Yeah, and then when guys were getting jobs at KDLH in Duluth, and they were offering them $10,000 a year, and I thought, I'm making more than that my senior year in college. I can't do that. So that's how that started. And then I've always been attracted to companies that had something, a lot of sports and recreational companies and stuff like that. But knowing people like you and some others, it just keeps me close.
So you've done some work in publications and things like that too.
Yes, and as well as media publications as well, like a lot of sports and rec, snowmobile, boating, things like that. We published all those magazines. It was the greatest job you could have as a 20-year-old.
Would you say it's fair to say that you have a pretty good handle on what the consumer needs, looks for, and wants in terms of sporting products, whether it's the actual game or things they can participate in? You've had a different lens to kind of see what that looks like.
Yeah, in '97, I started a company with some other guys called Rave Sports. And we introduced this product to the world called an Aqua Jump, which is a water trampoline. And the experience that I got in media had me on the Today Show, Good Morning America. I was on the cover of Hamacher Schlemmer.
How did you get those?
Did
you get them?
Yeah.
So that was part of what you were doing.
Correct.
Just call the producer?
Well, I literally realized how easy it is to get on the air. You literally send a press release to the TV station, and if it's written properly, you're on, because they look for content less then than they are today, for sure.
Do you think they were looking for okay, this is good content, but man, maybe we can turn these guys into advertisers too? Did you feel a little business play?
For sure.
But you got to have a product that provides content in order to do that, don't you?
Yeah, for sure. No, I mean it's that was a shiny object for sure.
Okay, then where does that put you today?
And today I've worked with many consumer products companies in a sales and marketing capacity, and just still promoting good stuff.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
JC, I have a question for you. So you worked in talking about a water trampoline. How does this compare to like a water bed, if you know what I mean? Can you have some fun on it? You know what I'm talking about?
Whatever happened to water beds?
I don't know.
Yeah, you know what? I never liked those. Did you?
Oh,
Never liked it?
I had a
No,
water bed.
You
in high
couldn't get
school.
any good leverage.
No?
No.
I love a water bed. That's
Oh my gosh.
that's my
You know what
thing
I'm
about
talking
being
about?
wet.
Oh my gosh. I was gonna say, going back to a little bit something more serious. You were saying, during your broadcasting days, or when you guys were, kind of first getting into the scene, when you said you were in your early 20s during that time, right?
Well, that was college. Yeah. So
Sure.
Yeah, 22.
Okay. No, I just think about even, again, like that age, and I'm in my mid 20s, so I just think about again the technology and the resources that you had that back then versus, someone like myself, with again, laptops and phones like it's like secondhand nature. You don't even think about it, and the access to resources, even with computers and being able to, find stats like the snap of a finger. You got Stat Muse on X or Twitter, where you have all these random, stats and updates that you can put out there and let people know that, again, you weren't necessarily going to be able to track and have that type of, involvement in, this person had a, triple double and, in these games, or this person's, 5-0 in these types of particular games. There's just stats that you weren't able to find back then that, again, people just spit out that go absolutely viral nowadays.
It could be analysis by paralysis to a degree with that too, but very good point.
But back then, when I wasn't at WMMR, I was working at the Minnesota Daily. We were publishing a printed newspaper every day. That's how. Things have changed rapidly.
Yeah, you think about even the transformation then of, even like the Star Tribune, going digital, or like I know even my dad, he used to get that, religiously every weekend, and now it's, people just, they'll get on their phone, they'll subscribe, and you don't even need to, have the person come by and drop it off at the end of the driveway.
You know why we still prefer the printed newspaper? It's because you can finish it.
What, in the toilet?
I don't get it.
Or
you can complete it. You can finish it.
Yeah, I suppose
you
it's
can
perpetual.
You can read it all.
It's perpetual, but I think Peanut, what you're really saying is it's interesting because a lot of the data and information that we were gathering in the 80s and the 90s and kind of early 2000 is there today. It was just a lot more manual. So if I wanted to get a soundbite from something, we would get it. That they'd set it down at a recorded time when we recorded on a reel. And then we put it on this thing called a cart. Remember the carts?
Oh
Pop the cart in, and then it would just play it. Carts were amazing. You'd fire them from the board. We were like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
We would play records on a record player. Remember wowing a record? You have to cue it up to the first note, move it back a quarter. And so these are things where, like, now you just take an MP4 or MP3, whatever it is, and you just fire it. But we still would get video and audio. It just was way more manual in order to get it. Like all of our AP news or Minnesota State news or sports would come across the wire. We'd have to rip each story and we put them on pegs, whether it was weather, ag, news, or sports, and then you as a sports director would find it and you'd read your stories. Really no different than now. It's just that you have to get it differently. But you do think 20 years removed, because I've been in the website world for 20 years, streaming since 06, like a dinosaur. I don't even really remember that, Jeff. I don't even know. Like, I won't even pick up. I get a hard copy of a paper and I just like kind of get hives. I can't do it.
Oh, I love it.
I can't do it. It just,
There still is something nostalgic though about, seeing a newspaper, reading the sports section, and that was something I think I've come to appreciate over the years. Like you said, where you're on your phone or there's digital news everywhere, and like you said, it's just like never ending. How many times do you go on Facebook or YouTube and you're looking at videos? Next thing you know, you're 30, 45 minutes deep later, and you're like, what did I even start out watching in the first place? So it's interesting just to hear again, the reality back then, and even, again, with today's technology.
The rabbit holes you can go down.
Oh, right? Man, the rabbit holes, I think, again, even like, I have
hours.
Yeah, I obviously have built a little bit of a following on X, over the last 18 months, and, again, even just seeing what people can do with broadcasters, and, they can have a professional, set space on a platform like X where, you have the soundboards, just like somebody maybe's DJing, and you can cue certain sounds at, the tap of a finger, and, you have these different songs that you can, that you can live stream, that you can play through these different mediums, which again, just to think of where we are now versus hearing again, where you guys back were in your early 20s and in the sports world.
I think it's very interesting because Jeff said, you get a job in Duluth. And when I first went to Brown for broadcasting, when it was here in the Twin Cities, anybody who was anybody in this market had gone there or found their way through there, maybe after a 4-year degree, maybe just to get the 2-year degree there. But you had industry experts that worked there. They'd say, oh my God, that's Kevin Connor, from cities. And your first day of class, they'd say, how many of you, what are you here for? And then people were there because they like music, like, whatever, sports. And then it's like, okay, well, you're working and you make like no money and you're going to have to go to Biloxi, Mississippi. Do you want to still do this? And they're very real and honest. Some people would be weeded out and they'd leave, but those that stayed knew what they were getting into. And really the same thing lies true when I said there's no money in sports. You have to really grind to make money in this business. And the same thing for podcasting. I think the biggest mistake people have always made is Juju. And we've spoken about this. I'm going to start a podcast. You know, it used to be like with internet, people would have a product, remember? And they thought just because they had a website, they could throw it on the website and poof, it's going to be a moneymaker and everybody's going to find me. That's not true. And so now, because it's so easy for everybody to do a podcast, which is awesome because we have all of this concept, speech, ideas, things that people can throw out there. If you're good, people will find you and get to you. If you're not good, you get lost in the shuffle, just like a sports director in Biloxi, Mississippi, nothing against the town. But like if you're there, who knows you're there? You know, it's the same thing. So it's really no different. It's just it's all delivered differently.
Yeah.
Fair?
I think it's a great point. I mean, yeah, I like to make different, correlations. I'm a very visual person. So as I'm, talking, I like to try and string as many different thoughts together just to bring a different perspective to the conversation. You think about even, small businesses, the backbone of this country. And, I think there's a lot of great establishments here, even locally in Minnesota that, we can always support. But oftentimes it's like, okay, what are they going to do within that first 5 years? Are they going to be able to, actually climb out of that hole and actually be an established, restaurant or established business? Well, they'll be able to carry on regardless of where, the market flows, where the general economics are. And, I think that's the same way with podcasts too. So many don't even make it past five podcasts or, even for myself with spaces on X or Twitter, a lot of people only do a first couple and then they kind of burn out. But when you can get people that, have done 30, 40, 50, or you have people that do a daily show religiously where they've done 700, days in a row, Monday through Friday, and they haven't missed a beat, that's where you really get to see people who are, passionate and can, have that conviction in what they're actually doing, whether again it's sports, tech, you name it, general news. That's when you can really start to cultivate a community and create something that will thrive for many years to come.
Consistency matters. If you say you're going to do a podcast, you're going to do it at noon, and you're going to do it on noon on Fridays.
Yep.
You do it noon on Friday. You don't do it. You don't skip next week. You don't skip. You need to be there. Just no different. I learned that from Gene Larkin, former Twins great, World Series winner. I started a website, and if I didn't have new stories each day posted on it, this is 2004, I'd get a phone call. We had cell phones then. I get a phone call, and he would say, where's my news? Like, what do you mean? He goes, like, I don't go out to get to the paper. I go to watch your hockey and baseball news. Where's your hockey news? I need it. And I'm like, whoa, this is serious. Like, he's literally, Jeff, treating it like a newspaper.
Yeah, it gets frustrating. You move on.
Right. And so, but I learned that early, like, this is no different than what we were doing. Right?
On time.
100%.
That's important.
I mean, consistency and rhythm, I'm sure with, again, what you've done with consumer products too, a consistency with marketing plan and making sure that those touch points, you have things planned out. I mean, people become, accustomed to and they expect, routine, even within the sports world. You think about, regardless of your thoughts on Pat McAfee, to think what they've done with that show, even, going from their, humble beginnings to then, having a premiere spot on ESPN and, being on national television is pretty cool, but they've had that consistency.
I think some of the great things to Pat, I think some of the great things to Pat is like, why Pat?
Yeah.
So, okay,
charisma.
So correct. So what does he have that others don't? Why does that show resonate? Charisma, consistency, takes that matter, that are good, and guests.
Oh my gosh.
And as guests, you got to have guests because at the end of the day, we're doing this first show like this. People are going to come here for 4 dudes they've never heard of.
Yeah.
It's going to be like, okay, great. But the reality is it's all about what you build around yourself and have a take. So let's get into the takes. I'm not even going to tell my story.
Did you know that he's Mr. Insignificant as well?
Was he the last pick?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Indianapolis?
True. I don't know.
Was that the original?
I just heard that he was also, Mr.
Can I ask you guys about we're not going to get into my story because we don't have an hour and a half for me to tell it. It's just rich and deep, and we'll just leave it at that. And I'll say it as we go throughout these shows. We'll reference that stuff, but just trust me. I've been in sports since '89. I'm on it. So, fantasy football trade. I offered a guy, Justin Jefferson.
Wow.
Well, no, let me rephrase.
You're losing faith in Darnold.
Nope. He asked for. I don't like my backs. I got good receivers. So he asked me, and I don't like Rashad White is my second back.
Okay.
And I like him, but boy, they love Bucky down there in Tampa. They do.
Yeah.
And so it's like really hard for me to like. I like him as a third guy on a bye week, but I on some weeks he's their guy, and so it's just not consistent. So I wanted to get Connor.
James Connor?
Yeah, I want to get him from Arizona. And the deal was Debo. He gives me Debo and Connor for JJ.
Is this PPR? Points per reception.
Yep.
Did you accept it?
Debo's numbers are almost the same as JJ's.
Because he adds that rushing.
Look at this. Peanut's losing his mind over here. Would you make that trade? I didn't.
mean,
when the trade didn't happen, he chickened out. I knew you'd puss out.
I think I have a distorted perception reality of fantasy. I've told a couple of my friends that I've gotten clapped this year basically in a couple of leagues that I put up at least a good chunk of change in. So I'm still participating. I'm not that guy who just doesn't check their lineup and just bows out. But
okay, so you're like 1-7 or 1-8.
Well, there's one league where I haven't won a game yet. So
9.
Yeah, so it's a little
Fire that GM.
Yeah, seriously. Even but there's there's a paid league that I did a best ball league, and that's been fun. I think it's always fun to be able to explore different possibilities. With fantasy sports, with obviously what we got going on here. But yeah, it's been fun to kind of explore out of the normal parameters that I usually live in when it comes to the fantasy football world. Yeah, best ball has probably been the best thing that I've found in ever really with it. I mean, again, the day to day, the week to week, the lineup managing. I know some people enjoy, but it's nice to know that, you don't have to worry about a shoulda, coulda, woulda. Your best team is going to end up in the lineup, and there's no excuses like, oh, if I would have had so-and-so and I would have won. It's like, you beat me fair and square. Your team sucks.
Yeah.
I love Debo, but he's
a
like
little injury prone.
he's like Percy Harvin, but he's got to share the wealth.
But he's injury prone too.
Yeah. See, that was some of the issues.
So that's
too.
why I wanted Connor.
He's got to share more than JJ has.
That's why I said give me Connor, because like I wanted to fill in a hole, and he wanted to. I'm 5-5 with JJ, and I have Josh Allen as my quarterback. It's a 12-team league.
Who are your other receivers? So you would have
Zay Flowers, who's been really solid.
I have him in one of my leagues.
And then and Joku is my tight end. I like him when he's healthy. He's been pretty solid there. And then I fall off on my third and fourth receivers. Romeo Dobbs would be one of them. Lad McConkey has been pretty solid for me from the Charge. I mean, he's a year soon. I think a couple of years he'll be really solid. I have Butker as my kicker. And then you get into the Chiefs and you look at those guys and you say, like, is there any way they haven't won a game this year? Yeah. And I think they've won a game every possible way this year when you thought they were about to lose.
Yeah. I was going to say real quick, you mentioned kicker, and I don't know if we may not be able to go into length as much as, I may want to, but man, how about the Minnesota Vikings actually being able to, and of course, we, have some injuries there on that end. I know we brought on a new kicker, but, I think that's probably one of the best things to come out of Alabama in some time. Will
Reichert is absolutely, you see him.
Steel cannon for a leg.
Absolutely. And, when he missed those two, you're like, oh, that was weird. Yeah. And then sure enough, he has like no quad. And, okay. And then you know what? Give Romo credit. He came in and, he hit the 4 they needed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was amazing. He scored all the points.
So, but when you think about going from the Blair Walsh experiment to
the Carlson, Carlson,
Daniel Carlson,
I think of all of the things that you could trash Zim on, and there's plenty, that would be probably number one for me, because the gaping hole he left with that emotional decision to cut the kid after that tough experience in Green Bay, and then he goes on to be as good as he's been in Oakland and Vegas. That's brutal, and
I mean
that's good to see. His D is atrocious too.
Yeah,
how bad are they down there? Oh,
it's been something that's plagued us. I was just kind of thinking, even with a number of different trades that the Twins have had over the years too. I think one of the most memorable ones, and again, this is just me.
Was he hurt? Whoever they brought in, he had to be hurt.
Well, I mean, I think of even like JJ Hardy, for example. When he was playing with when he was playing with the Twins, and then I think it was right after he went to go and play for the Orioles, and he just lit it up. I'm like, okay, this is just a great case of
MVP
of players coming to Minnesota, and then they're hurt or they say that they're injury prone, and then they go to somewhere different and they just absolutely light it up.
Well, I wonder often. It seems like the Twins. I know everybody's got man games lost. But it sure seems as though they have more than most year after year after year, especially with this regime.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where you have to look at what ownership is willing to spend on some of these players, and I think historically the Twins have been known for trying to find a quote unquote ripe deal with someone who had success and they're a little bit over the hill. And, they think that they can maybe rekindle some magic and capture lightning in a bottle. And we've, seen too many times that it's not a possibility.
Are we here right now, guys, where we're going to hit this Twins topic right now? Or, I mean, like
No,
Doc, I mean, do we want to bore this or what do we want to do?
We've got a few 10 minutes to cover Wolves.
Yeah, we got it.
Yeah, I mean, but like it's just
and the fight.
Yeah. Well, we might have to rapid fire do a little PTI here and figure out what we can do.
So we'll PTI it. First of all, Connor McDavid with his 1,000th point, fourth fastest in the history of the NHL. And I say at the end of the day is like, I don't think Gretzky's within reach here because he'd have to play till he's probably late 40s, like Yager did over in the K. But his numbers will be like top three. We're talking Ron Francis type numbers, beyond Steve Yzerman type numbers. Do you think he gets enough credit or not enough credit as an NHL producer? I think there's always sort of an asterisk behind him for some reason.
Yeah, I think from my perspective, like I told you guys, I'm probably the least educated here when it comes to hockey. Again, kind of ironic, the state of hockey. I should probably know a little bit more, but I didn't play growing up. But even from my perspective, being on the outside, I don't feel like I hear enough about him. And again, that's just at least from my perspective. And maybe I'm not necessarily super in touch with the NHL scene as a whole. Obviously, I try and be tapped into the Minnesota Wild just because I'm a Minnesota sports fan, but. Yeah, I don't think that there's nearly enough about him and what he's doing, again, at least from an outsider perspective.
Jeff, what's your take on the coverage he may have or not have as far as being a true superstar in the league?
I mean, I think that's a compounded effect by who he is, his style of play, what he says after the game. I mean, the results are solid, but not everybody shines as far as like trying to influence their popularity.
Yeah.
Well, if we watch
he's not everyone's cup of tea. Would you say that's an accurate statement?
Yeah. I mean, like, so he's not going to knock your drawers off like with personality and blow you away.
Yeah,
that's not the nature of it. He lets his stuff do the time. But if you watch the films they've been putting out, he's pretty electric. And, inside that room, he's definitely a player. I think the situation there is that they've been on a team that has had so many holes along the way, whether it's been the goaltending issue, whether it's been the blue line. His supporting cast up front has always been good. I mean, Hyman's a great player. Leon Draisaitl, I mean, that guy's got the widest shoulders. His shoulders are wider than yours, Juju. Like, I mean, the guy's a big boy, but he can score. I think it's just been a byproduct of a team until last year that had been toiling in the middling, playoff to non-playoff type team. And it's hard to really have people follow that and get into it. But he has quietly and not so quietly assembled 1,000 points. And I think he's a player that the hockey world has to take into, I mean, we saw the great one when we were growing up, right? And we were seeing the 5, 6, 7-point, 8-point games that this guy was doing and the things he was. It's a totally different world. It's the same team. His supporting cast was really good.
And he's got the highlight reels. It's just, I don't know. I'd say Kaprizov gets more attention than he does.
He does because he's what you're saying is there's
English.
There's a likability. He does well now. He does good.
It's getting better.
You've got something about the English language, don't you?
No, I'm just saying, like, we're drawing it.
It's been a theme here today.
We're drawing it to personality, and it's not like he's.
Here's the thing: is its likability is what you're looking at it from your lens and your view, and I think you're saying that's not translating to maybe the larger popularity scale, but these numbers are speaking for themselves. And I'm just wondering if after this year, with the programming that the NHL's come out with, if that's going to change.
Right.
You win a cup, and that changes people's minds too pretty quick, and they're pretty darn close last year, no question. Crazy.
Yeah.
you come back from down 3-0. That's another question. Do you think it would be harder to be swept 4-0 or to come back down from 3-0 and lose Game 7?
I think historically it would probably be I would almost say coming back
For sure.
Historically you look at what's even happening. I always think about the NBA. I mean, I've been consuming more NBA content over the last couple of years, going back to my college days. When I had started in 2016. I guess we'll kind of see where it goes. But I think historically, it's probably harder to come back from that type of deficit than to go on and sweep. So.
Well,
maybe a hot take.
Yeah. No, I would agree. Like, I think it's one of those ones. If you get swept, you go, "That's unacceptable." We're driven, we're motivated, we're coming back. But when you get right to the edge there, and then you get shut down like that, I think that's really hard to be able to say, "That's okay. We'll come get them next year." And I think the hangover that you would have, to their credit, the Oilers have done a really good job of cycling out of that, and they started a little slower, but they're starting to pick up some wins now along the way. So I think that's impressive.
Yeah, and I think a good point even to kind of go into the next thing too. Talking about hey, is it the I guess the difference between getting swept or if you're able to have that comeback. I mean, even think again about the Timberwolves too, and some of the postseason runs that they've been trying to put together, and they've been slowly putting the right pieces together. Even just seeing the transcendence of Ant as a personality and a persona here in Minnesota. Obviously had some interesting characters with Butler, Beverly too, just the different people that have come in that have been pretty polarizing and in many ways, players that, again, kind of like they leave it all out there and you either really like them or you don't. It's going to be interesting again, just to see what type of run this organization can put together again with some of the big moves that they had with what they had with Cat. And I know a lot of Minnesota people were quite upset. I actually thought it was a huge value add for the Timberwolves to add Randall and DiVincenzo too. I thought it was a win if you're looking at it strategically on the stat sheet.
You've opened up a ton of questions here. First of all, Dallas has lost their 4th in a row last night in Utah. They are currently out of the playoffs if the season ended today, as are the Timberwolves. So,
well, Luka hasn't been as clutch.
I don't care. If the season ended today, they're out of the playoffs. They've lost 4 in a row. And the Minnesota Timberwolves right now are middling around at 6-6.
Yep.
And the point is when you look at the dynamic of this team, I never grew up playing basketball, but I've watched it. And all you have to do is have a naked eye and look at this team defensively. And they were engaged and active last year. They looked almost like a high school team that are doing everything they need to do defensively with their footwork and their effort and their hustle. It's almost like they're standing around hoping someone misses it. And maybe they'll grab a board and they'll go down. They're so good, they're going to make it. Dante cannot hit the broadside of the barn. I'm sorry. This guy reminds me of the Wolves version of Courtney Williams. All or nothing. I mean, completely like what is going on here? A pest dispenser, turnover machine. It just, I don't know.
They say the TV views are way down, and they liken it to the players are lacking as much enthusiasm as the viewers at this point in the season. Like, these games just simply don't matter when you've got 82. The season starts at about 50.
Yeah, but tell that to the Wild, who started their first 19 games and were basically out of the playoffs last year and are now the second best record in the West behind the white-hot Winnipeg Jets. Mm-hmm. Starts matter.
I don't think it's the same in the NHL. I don't.
I think the marathon of an 82-game schedule with as balanced of a West as you have, you cannot give games away. You cannot go to Portland at the time, a 3-8 team, and really draw them one game from you in the win column. It's unacceptable. And if you're a fan, you should be pissed. That's my opinion.
I think
$100 a seat. Yeah,
I think you should set the tone. Like, the Wolves are kind of setting the tone to being a 500 team now, because
it's exactly it.
Because and I feel like what the issue that Minnesota's facing this year that we didn't see last year is, last year the Wolves would beat up on all the bad teams, and they would drop some to a San Antonio team, but I feel like this year the issue has been we're losing to like bad teams. We've lost to Portland twice, we have lost to San Antonio, we have.
Can we say something real quick?
Yeah.
Are you on the team?
No.
Okay, go ahead.
They?
I'm just getting the pronoun correct.
Oh.
We means you're on the team. Go ahead.
Well, I'm not-
Pronouns are dead, Waggs.
Well, you've got more of a global audience here, so
Yeah.
they don't care that you're a Wolves fan, is what I'm saying. They.
Yeah.
That was a little
sorry,
on-air education.
I'm a big Wolves fan.
I
so
see that. Okay,
They-
apologist.
Yeah.
They have lost a lot of games to bad teams, and I think it's interesting. They've had some good wins against the Kings, against the Nuggets, but I think they're setting the tone for a 500-win season, and I have not been impressed.
The one
with them.
loss in San Antonio was a league scheduled loss where they had an overtime game, that a late game on TNT or whatever it was.
Yeah.
They get into San Antonio, about 5 a.m., and then they got to turn around and play like in 12 hours. And that's going to be a loss.
Yeah.
But I think, Peanut, the bottom line of this is Cat was out of the lineup.
Yep.
Half of last year or whatever, for a big chunk of last year.
Correct.
So I'm not buying the fact that he's out of the lineup. I'm seeing a serious effort problem. I really like Julius Randle. I think he's a really good fit.
Yep.
I'm seeing something defensively and in care for the ball, which are things you can control, and I don't think they're controlling it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll be one of those things where you have some of the rookies. I was just kind of refreshing myself because obviously I know Shannon Jr. And then obviously again some of the trades that they made for Randall, DiVincenzo, Ingles too, and then obviously the demeanor, that
Ingles looks like he should pick up a clipboard at this stage of the career.
He doesn't do anything.
He just coach. That's what he's there for. Just coach.
And even Dillingham too. I mean, I know he's electric, and I know we were super stoked as Wolves fans. At least I was. That we had those 2 picks here in the draft, and I think it'll be interesting to see again even how they maybe step into their own shoes and lead in a way similar to what Ant did. But I think it's just one of those things where you really have to find yourself again. How many trades have we seen in different leagues across the board where theoretically it looks great on the sheet. And then once you actually get to the field or to the court or you get to the rink and it's something vastly different than again what you pictured. So I'm not honestly too worried. Like you said, it's an 82 game season. Obviously, there's a lot of ball to play. You had the in-season tournament that they brought in that I thought was great to hear. I know JJ Redick actually had a great podcast with Adam Silver. Obviously that's a different situation now. He's coaching the Lakers, but really cool podcast again, just to be able to see what kind of goes on behind the scenes and what their vision is for the NBA. Why they did the in-season tournament and why they
sort of copying the Premier League and what they do in football across overseas. It's the same concept within the league. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, no, I think
sense.
I think it provides a different type of spark mid-season where again, even with like the Lakers, I believe that they had gone on to win that last year. They went on an impressive run, and again, that could be kind of the spark that some teams need to have that extra incentive. Even with, again, you think about rookies who are making pennies on the dollar relative to some of the star athletes. 40, 50 million a year. Mm-hmm. That's a big deal for them. To win, to get $500,000 or $1 million, whatever it is that they can get. Awarded in some of these championship in-season tournaments. But I know we wanted to talk real
Cash
quickly.
is king. Well, you know what? We're getting the wrap-up sign here. What we're going to do, let's do this. Let's wrap it, boys.
Yeah.
Next week, we're going to talk about the Timberwolves sale.
Yes.
I am
a lot of drama.
I'm tracking on a guest that I think that's going to be really good for this show, where we're going to talk about the new ruling that's allowing major junior hockey players to play collegiate hockey here. Mm-hmm. This is a person who has worked closely in college hockey trying to grow as many teams as possible. Is this a good thing? Is it a bad thing? There's a lot of pounding of breasts, grinding and gnashing of teeth on this one, like but let's just find out if this is actually kind of a good thing, and maybe we all can calm down. And I think this guy will have good success with that. And then we'll talk about the Timberwolves sale too, for sure.
I'll just say real quick too off of that, even just talking about the expansion of hockey and some of the efforts that are going on there. I think it'd be a great point. I'm sure we could go down a couple of rabbit trails there with the NIL deals and the whole NIL world, especially when it comes to college football and even recruiting as a whole and the whole different type of business that's come to be. I know that was actually a big factor when it came to Saban's journey at Alabama and some of the different statements and some of the different stories that different coaches had put out.
College free agency is a problem.
Yeah, and honestly, not just in football, but I know football has been I would say has been one of the leading sports, one of the leading industries when it comes to NIL talk. So I know there's obviously gymnastics and all sorts of people who have a large following on social media that have really boosted the conversations in the sports world too. But I think that'd be a good topic to throw in there
We'll
as well.
bring on some NIL guests and experts too. We've got a couple of insights to those. I think we wrap this one up, guys. Appreciate everything. This was a great roundtable discussion. Hopefully you all got to know us a little bit better as we continue with this fantastic podcast. Do you want to bring us out, Doc?
Yeah, guys. Hey, this was a great first podcast, and just really appreciate it. We are the DigiFan Podcast for Waggs, JC, Juju, and Peanut. Till next time, noon on Fridays. See you guys.